She helped an old woman collapsed in the rain when everyone else walked past. The next morning, a Mafia boss arrived at her workplace in black SUVs. Turns out the woman was his mother. He fired her cruel manager on the spot, and what started as one act of kindness was about to change her entire future. The rain hit like bullets against the cracked pavement behind Rosie's diner. Maya pressed her back against the cold brick wall, fishing through her apron pockets for her car keys with numb fingers. 11:30 at night, and her feet screamed from the double shift. But the tips had been decent, $73 that would cover Leo's field trip and maybe, just maybe, leave enough for new sneakers. His toes were poking through the old ones. She found the keys and stepped into the downpour, immediately regretting not grabbing her jacket from inside. The parking lot was empty except for her beaten Honda. 3 more steps and she'd be. A sound stopped her cold. It was barely audible over the hammering rain, a weak, gasping cry coming from near the dumpsters. Maya's first instinct was to keep walking. This was North Philadelphia at midnight. Smart people minded their business. But the sound came again, more desperate this time, and something in it reminded her of Leo when he'd had that terrible flu last winter. She turned back. Behind the dumpster, crumpled against the wet concrete like discarded trash, was an old woman. Her silver hair was plastered to her skull, and her hands trembled violently as she tried to push herself up. The elegant cut of her soaked coat suggested money, but her confusion suggested something far more vulnerable.
Mom.
Maya crouched down, rain instantly soaking through her uniform. Ma'am, can you hear me? The woman's eyes were wild with panic, darting everywhere but focusing nowhere. I don't. Where am I? Where's? Her voice cracked. I need to get home. My son. It's okay. It's okay. Maya stripped off her thin cardigan, the only layer she had, and draped it over the woman's shoulders. It was pathetically inadequate against the storm, but it was something.
I'm Maya.
I'm going to help you. The woman grabbed Maya's wrist with surprising strength. They left me. Everyone just walked past. Maya's stomach twisted. She'd seen at least 4 people leave through the back door in the last hour. Every single one had chosen to look away. I'm not walking past, Maya said firmly. She slipped an arm around the woman's back. Come on. Let's get you somewhere dry. Getting her to her feet was harder than expected. The woman's legs kept buckling, and Maya had to bear most of her weight. They stumbled forward together, rain lashing their faces. Maya's Honda was closer, but taking a confused elderly woman to a secondary location felt wrong. The 24-hour bus shelter on Broad Street, that was public, visible, safe. What's your name? Maya asked, partially to keep the woman conscious and partially to keep herself from thinking about how her tips were getting soaked in her pocket. Sophia, the word came out slurred. Sophia Leone. Okay, Sophia. We're almost there. Just keep moving with me. A car slowed as they staggered past, its headlights illuminating them like actors on a stage. Maya looked up hopefully, but the driver took one look at the situation and sped away. Of course. Nobody wanted to get involved. My son, Sophia mumbled again. He's going to be so angry. I wasn't supposed to leave. We'll call him, Maya promised, though she had no idea if that was possible. Soon as we're dry. The bus shelter appeared through the sheets of rain like a beacon. Maya half-carried Sophia inside and lowered her onto the bench. The plexiglass walls cut the wind, but did nothing for the cold. Sophia was shaking harder now, her teeth chattering audibly. Maya pulled out her phone, its cracked screen showing 11:47 p.m. and a battery at 12%. She needed to call someone. Police? Ambulance? But what if Sophia had wandered from a care facility? What if involving authorities got someone in trouble, or worse, got Sophia institutionalized somewhere she didn't want to be? Sophia, do you remember your son's phone number? The old woman's eyes had cleared slightly in the relative shelter. She looked at Maya, really looked at her, and something shifted in her expression. Recognition, maybe, or trust.
No.
I don't remember. I don't remember anything. Right, her voice broke. What's wrong with me? Nothing's wrong with you, Maya said gently, though her heart ached. Her own grandmother had started forgetting things before she passed. You just got confused. It happens. She rubbed Sophia's hands between her own, trying to generate warmth. Her mind raced through options. The diner had a phone book, the ancient kind, but going back meant leaving Sophia alone. Her manager, Derek, would already be furious that she'd taken this long to leave. He timed everything, watched everyone like a hawk. "You're an angel," Sophia whispered suddenly. Her papery hand reached up to touch Maya's cheek. "An actual angel. I can tell." Maya felt tears prick her eyes and blamed it on the cold. "I'm just a waitress who's probably going to catch pneumonia." But Sophia wouldn't let go of her hand. They sat like that, two strangers taking shelter from the storm, until Sophia's shaking eased and her breathing steadied. Until the bus pulled up 20 minutes later and the driver, a kind-faced woman in her 50s, recognized Sophia. "Mrs. Leone, we've been looking everywhere for you." The driver was already on her radio. "She lives at Riverside Senior Homes. Wandered off this afternoon." Within minutes, a van arrived. A frantic caregiver rushed out, apologizing profusely. Sophia went calmly, but turned back at the last moment. "Thank you," she said to Maya, clear-eyed and certain. "You're an angel." Then she was gone. Maya stood shivering in the bus shelter, completely alone, as the rain finally began to ease.
Her phone was dead. Her tips were soggy.
And she had to be back at the diner in 8 hours. She didn't feel like an angel. She felt exhausted. The morning sun was cruel and bright when Maya pushed through the diner's doors at 7 a.m. Her uniform was still damp, her hair pulled into a hasty bun. She'd gotten maybe 3 hours of sleep, most of it spent worrying about paying the electric bill.
Maya.
Office. Now, Derek's voice cut across the breakfast chatter. Her stomach dropped. Derek was the owner's nephew, a petty tyrant who'd been looking for an excuse to cut staff since he'd taken over management last month. Maya had been careful, so careful, to give him nothing. The office was cramped and smelled like stale coffee. Derek sat behind the desk, arms crossed, his expression smug. "We're letting you go." The words didn't register at first. "What?" "You've been stealing." He pushed a spreadsheet across the desk. "Cash register's been short. I've tracked it to your shifts." "That's impossible." "Security footage shows you accessing the register after hours." His smile was pure poison. "Don't make this harder than it needs to be." Maya's mind spun. After hours? She never. Wait. Last Tuesday. She'd gone back for her phone after clocking out, and Derek had been at the register, counting. He jumped when she walked in, acted strange. "You're framing me," she breathed. "I'm firing you. Clear out your locker. I'll mail your final check."
Derek, please.
"I have a son. I need this job." "Should have thought of that before you stole from us." He stood, effectively ending the conversation. "You've got 5 minutes." Maya walked out in a daze. Her coworkers avoided her eyes. They'd clearly been told she was a thief. She cleaned out her locker mechanically, shoving her spare shoes and emergency granola bars into her bag. This couldn't be happening.
Not now.
Not when rent was due in 5 days. She pushed through the front doors, stepping into the harsh morning light with an envelope containing 1 week's pay. Nowhere near enough. The parking lot swam in her vision. And that's when the 3 black SUVs pulled up, blocking every exit like they owned the world. The SUVs moved with precision. Too much precision. They weren't parking, they were positioning. The lead vehicle stopped directly in front of the diner's entrance, while the other 2 flanked the exits like chess pieces trapping a king. Maya froze on the sidewalk, her bag slipping from her shoulder. Through the tinted windows, she could see movement. Shapes. People who moved with purpose. The doors opened in unison. 6 men stepped out, all wearing dark suits that probably cost more than Maya's monthly rent. They weren't obviously armed, but the way they carried themselves, shoulders back, eyes scanning, hands ready, suggested they didn't need to be obvious. These were men accustomed to being obeyed. Inside the diner, Maya heard someone drop a plate. The leader emerged last. He was younger than Maya expected, maybe 40, with steel-gray eyes and a jawline that belonged on a movie screen. His suit was charcoal, perfectly tailored, and when he moved, the others instinctively made space. This wasn't just authority. This was power. He walked directly toward Maya. Her feet wouldn't move. Every survival instinct screamed at her to run, but her legs had turned to concrete. The envelope with her final paycheck crinkled in her death grip. Maya Torres? His voice was surprisingly soft, but it carried the weight of someone who never had to raise it. She managed a nod. Were you the one who helped my mother last night? He stopped 3 feet away, close enough to be intimidating but far enough to let her breathe. An elderly woman. In the rain. Behind this diner. Maya's mind raced. His mother? Sophia's last name had been Leone. And this man? Oh God. She knew that name. Everyone in Philadelphia knew that name.
Victor Leone.
The man parents whispered about when they wanted their kids to stay away from certain neighborhoods. The man whose legitimate businesses were allegedly covers for an empire built on fear. Yes, she stammered. Is she okay? I made sure she got home safe.
She's fine.
Because of you, something flickered in his expression. Not quite gratitude, but close. Nobody else stopped. Security footage from the pharmacy across the street shows 4 people walked right past her. You were the only one who didn't. Behind him, Maya saw faces pressed against the diner's windows. Derek stood frozen by the register, his face pale. Her former co-workers had abandoned all pretense of working. Everyone was watching. Everyone knew exactly who Victor Leone was. I just did what anyone would, Maya started. But they didn't, Victor cut her off, not unkindly. They didn't and you did. My mother has dementia. She wandered away from her caregiver yesterday afternoon. We've been searching for 12 hours, his jaw tightened. 12 hours she was alone, confused, vulnerable. And the only person who showed her kindness was a waitress at the end of a double shift. Maya didn't know what to say. Her heart hammered so hard she could feel it in her throat. Victor's gaze dropped to the envelope in her hand, then to her still damp uniform, then back to her face. Why are you leaving with your belongings at 7 a.m.? The word stuck. Admitting she'd just been fired felt like admitting weakness to a predator. But Victor's expression darkened with understanding. He turned toward the diner, and the temperature seemed to drop 10 degrees. Wait here, he said. It wasn't a request. He walked toward the entrance, and his men moved with him, like a synchronized unit. The door opened before he reached it. Someone inside had the sense to not make him wait. Maya watched through the window as Victor strode directly to the counter where Derek stood, now visibly trembling. She couldn't hear the conversation, but she could see it. Victor's posture, calm, controlled, lethal. Derek's, panicked, defensive, crumbling. Other customers were pulling out their phones. In 30 seconds, this would be all over social media. One of Victor's men produced a tablet, showed Derek something on the screen. Derek's face went from pale to gray. He shook his head frantically, but Victor leaned in, said something that made the manager's knees literally buckle. Maya watched in surreal fascination as her former boss pulled out keys with shaking hands, opened the register, and started counting. No, not counting. Confessing. His mouth moved rapidly, words tumbling out, hands gesturing. The performance of a man desperate to save himself. Another man in a suit, this one carrying a briefcase, produced papers. Derek signed them. His hand was shaking so badly he could barely hold the pen. The whole thing took less than 5 minutes. When Victor emerged, Derek followed like a beaten dog, carrying Maya's final paycheck envelope and something else, a thicker packet. His eyes were red. Miss Torres, Derek's voice cracked. I apologize for the misunderstanding. You're not fired. We'd like you to come back. Please. Victor took the packets from Derek's hand and passed them to Maya. Your job is reinstated. This envelope contains your back pay for the shifts you were shorted, plus compensation for emotional distress. The diner's owner has signed a statement clearing your name and admitting to his own financial discrepancies. Maya stared at the envelopes, then at Derek's terrified face, then at Victor. I need to speak with you, Victor said quietly. Somewhere private. You have questions and you deserve answers. I can't. Please, that single word, spoken by a man who clearly never begged, carried more weight than any threat could. My mother keeps asking for you. She wants to thank you properly. Maya looked at the diner, at Derek, at the impossible amount of money she was suddenly holding. Okay, she whispered, sealing her fate without knowing it. Okay. Victor guided Maya to a cafe 3 blocks away, the Morning Blend, a place with floor-to-ceiling windows and enough foot traffic to feel safe. He'd chosen it deliberately, she realized. Somewhere public. Somewhere she wouldn't feel trapped. His men stayed outside, dispersed but watchful. Victor sat across from her at a corner table, 2 untouched cappuccinos between them. Maya's hands were still shaking. You didn't have to do that, she said finally, breaking the silence. Back there. I would have survived. Would you have? Victor's gaze was steady. How much is your rent? The question caught her off guard. I don't see how. 1,200?
14?
And you're a single mother. I saw the school pickup permission form fall out of your bag. 1 income, 1 job you just lost, no savings because you can't save when you're living shift to shift, he leaned back. So, I'll ask again. Would you have survived? Maya's throat tightened. She hated how accurate he was. Hated how transparent her life apparently was to a stranger. Derek was stealing, Victor continued, his voice matter-of-fact. About $2,000 a month for the past 6 months, skimming from the register and falsifying reports. When my people started asking questions this morning, he panicked. Tried to make you the scapegoat before we could dig deeper. Your people started asking questions?
Why?
Maya finally looked at him directly. Why do you even care about this? Something shifted in Victor's expression, a crack in the armor. My mother has late-stage dementia. Most days, she doesn't remember my name. She gets agitated easily, trusts no one, lashes out at her caregivers. He paused. This morning, for the first time in 2 years, she was calm.
Happy.
She kept talking about the kind girl with warm hands who saved her life. I didn't save. You did, his voice was firm. You have no idea what it's like to watch someone you love disappear piece by piece. To know they're terrified and confused and you can't fix it. Last night, my mother was alone in a storm, and every person who saw her decided she wasn't their problem. His jaw tightened. Except you. Maya stared at her untouched coffee. I just did what felt right. Which is precisely why I'm here. Victor pulled out his phone, scrolled, then turned it toward her. The street camera footage from the pharmacy. Watch. The black and white video showed the alley behind the diner. Maya watched herself discover Sophia, saw the exact moment she decided to help instead of walk away. The timestamp showed how long she'd stayed, 47 minutes in the freezing rain when she could have called 911 and left. Then the video cut to different footage inside the diner from 2 nights ago. Derek, alone after closing, pocketing bills from the register. Methodical. Practiced. He'd done this dozens of times. I had my people pull every camera in a 3-block radius, Victor said, pocketing the phone. Derek confessed to everything once he realized we had evidence. He signed a statement admitting to the theft and clearing your name. That statement is legally binding. And if he goes back on it, he won't. Victor's smile didn't reach his eyes. I explained what would happen if he did. A chill ran down Maya's spine. This was the part she'd been dreading, the reminder of who exactly she was sitting across from. I don't want anyone hurt because of me, she said carefully. No one will be hurt. Derek will face legal consequences. I've already forwarded the evidence to the police. But nothing more than that. Victor met her eyes. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking I'm a dangerous man, and you're right. But I'm also a son who's watching his mother fade away, and last night you gave her a moment of peace. That means something to me. Maya wrapped her hands around her cup, seeking warmth. What do you want from me? Nothing, the answer was immediate. Well, one thing. My mother keeps asking to see you again. Just to say thank you properly. That's all. It sounded simple. Too simple. And if I say no, then you say no. Victor stood, pulling out his wallet. He placed $500 bills on the table. For the trouble I've caused this morning. Buy your son something nice. Maya stared at the money. It was more than she made in 2 weeks. I can't accept this. You already helped my mother for nothing. This isn't payment, it's gratitude. He turned to leave, then paused. One more thing. Derek was using your employee ID to clock in during off hours, making it look like you were accessing the register. That's how he framed you. My people found evidence of it on the diner's computer system. You might want to file a formal complaint. Victor, Mr. Leone? Just Victor, his expression softened slightly. You saved my mother's life, Maya. In my world, that creates a debt. I don't like being in debt. He walked toward the exit, his men materializing from nowhere to flank him. Maya sat frozen, staring at the money on the table and the 2 envelopes in her bag. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. My mother is at Riverside Senior Homes, room 237. Visiting hours are 2 to 8 p.m. daily. No pressure. But she'd love to see you. Maya looked up, but Victor was already gone, swallowed by the black SUVs that moved like sharks through morning traffic. She picked up one of the $100 bills, held it to the light to make sure it was real. Everything had just changed, and she had no idea if it was for better or worse. Maya didn't go to Riverside Senior Homes that day, or the next. She told herself she was too busy, picking up Leo from school, restocking the apartment, catching up on laundry. But the truth sat heavier. She was scared. Not of Victor, exactly. Scared of what getting involved with his world might mean. On the 3rd day, her phone rang from the same unknown number. Miss Torres. A woman's voice, professional and warm. This is Patricia Chun, Ms. Leone's primary caregiver. She's been asking for you every day. I know it's not my place, but she's calmer when she talks about you. If you could spare even 20 minutes, it might help her. The guilt was immediate and crushing. Is she okay?
Physically, yes.
Emotionally. Dementia is cruel, Ms. Torres. She has good hours and bad hours. During the good ones, she remembers the kindness you showed her. It's become an anchor for her. Maya closed her eyes. I'll come today. Thank you. And Ms. Torres? Mr. Leone won't be here. He has business out of town. I thought you might want to know that. The relief Maya felt was telling. Riverside Senior Homes was nicer than anywhere Maya had ever lived. Marble floors, fresh flowers in every hallway, staff who smiled like they meant it. Room 237 was at the end of a quiet corridor, and through the half-open door, Maya could hear classical music playing softly. She knocked. Come in, dear. Patricia appeared, a petite woman in scrubs with kind eyes. She's having a good afternoon. Lucid, calm. Your timing is perfect. Sophia sat in a velvet armchair by the window, sunlight turning her silver hair gold. She wore a lavender cardigan and pearls, looking every inch the elegant matriarch. When she saw Maya, her face transformed. The angel! She reached out both hands. You came. Maya crossed the room, taking Sophia's hands in hers. They were warm now, steady. How are you feeling, Mrs. Leone? Better, now that you're here. Sit. Sophia gestured to the chair beside her. Patricia, dear, could you bring tea? Of course. Patricia slipped out, leaving them alone. Sophia studied Maya's face with surprising intensity. You think I don't remember that night, don't you? People assume the dementia steals everything. But I remember you. Your voice. How you didn't leave me even when you were freezing. Anyone would have. But they didn't. Sophia's grip tightened. I heard them. Footsteps walking past while I was on the ground. I called for help, and they pretended not to hear. But you stopped. Maya felt tears prick her eyes. I'm glad you're safe. Because of you. Sophia leaned back, studying her. Victor told me you have a son. Leo, yes? How old? 7.
He's
everything. Of course he is, Sophia smiled. I remember when Victor was 7. Stubborn as a mule. Even then. Always trying to protect me, even from things that couldn't hurt us, her expression clouded. His father was difficult. Victor learned too young that the world is hard. That kindness is weakness. Maya didn't know what to say to that. But seeing what you did for me, a stranger, it reminded him that good people still exist. Sophia's eyes grew sharp, focused. He wants to offer you something, doesn't he? A job, probably. Something that would change your life. The accuracy was unsettling. He mentioned nothing specific, just that he wanted to help. And you're terrified of what accepting help from a man like my son might cost you, Sophia nodded approvingly. Good. Fear keeps you smart. But let me tell you something, Maya. Victor is trying to become better than what his father made him. It's slow, and it's hard, and he fails sometimes. But he's trying. Patricia returned with tea and cookies. They spent the next hour talking about Leo's love of dinosaurs, Sophia's memories of raising Victor alone after her husband died, the simple pleasure of afternoon sunlight. It felt normal. Safe. When Maya finally stood to leave, Sophia caught her hand one more time. Whatever Victor offers you, make your own choice. Don't let guilt or fear decide for you. Her eyes were clear, laser-focused. And if you do accept, keep being exactly who you are. Don't let his world change that. Victor was waiting in the lobby. Maya stopped short. Patricia said you were out of town. I was. I came back. He stood from the leather sofa, somehow making the elegant space feel too small. How is she?
Good. Clear.
We talked for over an hour. Maya adjusted her purse strap, a nervous gesture. You didn't have to come back just because I was here. I came back to talk to you. He gestured to a private sitting room off the main lobby.
Please.
5 minutes. The room was empty, soundproofed. Victor closed the door, but stayed near it, giving her space, she realized. Letting her stay closest to the exit. I run several businesses, he said without preamble. Restaurants, real estate development, a logistics company. All legitimate, all legal. The logistics company needs an operations coordinator, someone who can manage schedules, handle personnel issues, keep things running smoothly. Maya's heart hammered. Why me? Because my mother trusts you, and my mother trusts no one. Because you showed integrity when it cost you something. Because you need a better situation than that diner, and I have one to offer, he paused. The salary is $65,000 a year, full benefits, reasonable hours. You'd work from an office in Center City, nowhere near anything questionable. It was more money than Maya had ever imagined making. Life-changing money. Victor, she struggled for words. I can't. His expression didn't change. Why not? Because I don't know what strings come attached. Because accepting something from you feels like stepping into a world I don't understand and can't control, she met his eyes. Because I have a son, and keeping him safe matters more than anything else. Silence stretched between them. Then Victor nodded slowly. I understand. And I respect it.
I'm grateful.
Don't be, he opened the door for her. The offer stands if you change your mind. No pressure, no expectations. You helped my mother. I wanted to help you. That's all. Maya left Riverside feeling like she'd just passed some kind of test. She had no idea that refusing Victor Leone's help was about to make everything infinitely more complicated. The knock on Maya's apartment door came at 7:15 a.m., 3 sharp raps that echoed through the cramped space like gunshots. Leo was still asleep, and Maya had been making his lunch, peanut butter and jelly, apple slices, a granola bar. She knew who it was before she looked through the peephole. Darren stood in the hallway, his jaw tight, and his eyes carrying that dangerous glint she remembered too well. Her ex-husband had put on weight since she'd last seen him 6 months ago, but he still had the same posture, chest puffed out, shoulders back, like he owned whatever space he occupied. Maya considered not opening the door. But Darren knew Leo was here, knew their schedule. Ignoring him would only make things worse. She opened the door, but kept the chain on. It's not your weekend. We need to talk. His voice was controlled, but she heard the anger underneath.
Now.
Leo's sleeping. I know about the Mafia guy. Darren leaned closer to the crack in the door. You think I wouldn't find out? It's all over social media. My son's mother is mixed up with Victor Leone. Maya's stomach dropped. I'm not mixed up with anyone. 3 black SUVs at your workplace. A known criminal personally handling your employment dispute. You visiting his mother at some fancy care home. Darren's lip curled. How long have you been seeing him, Maya? How long have you been exposing my son to these people? I'm not seeing anyone. An old woman needed help, and I helped her. That's it. That's it. Darren laughed, harsh and bitter. You expect me to believe Victor Leone shows up for just anyone? You think I'm stupid. Through the crack in the door, Maya saw Mrs. Chun from apartment 4C slow her walk to the elevator, listening.
Perfect.
Within an hour, the whole building would know about this conversation. Lower your voice, Maya hissed. You'll wake Leo. Maybe Leo should wake up. Maybe he should know what kind of choices his mother is making. Darren's hand pressed against the door. I've been talking to my lawyer. A mother who associates with organized crime? That's grounds for custody reevaluation. The words hit like a physical blow. You can't. I can and I will. Unless you cut all contact with Leone and anyone connected to him. Immediately, Darren's voice dropped to something quieter, more dangerous. I've been clean for 8 months, Maya. Got a steady job, a 2-bedroom apartment in a good school district. I'm ready to be a real father to Leo. Can you say the same? Can you honestly say keeping company with the mob is what's best for our son? Maya's hands trembled on the door. Darren had been a nightmare when they were married, controlling, verbally cruel, with a temper that had twice put holes in their walls. He'd never hit her, but he'd made her feel small in 1,000 other ways. She'd left when Leo was 3, and it had taken everything she had to keep primary custody. But he was right about one thing. A judge would care about Victor Leone's reputation. I helped an elderly woman, Maya said, keeping her voice steady through sheer force of will. That's all. There's nothing else to it. Then you won't mind signing this. Darren pulled a folded paper from his jacket. Statement saying you won't have further contact with the Leone family or any of their associates. My lawyer drew it up. Sign it, and we can forget this conversation happened. And if I don't, then I file for emergency custody evaluation. Let a judge decide if Leo belongs with a mother who's making friends with criminals. He slid the paper through the crack in the door. You have until Friday. That's 3 days. He walked away before Maya could respond, his footsteps heavy on the worn carpet. Maya closed the door and leaned against it, the paper clutched in her shaking hands. Her mind raced. Darren had relapsed twice during their marriage, lost 3 jobs, forgotten Leo's birthday 2 years running. But 8 months, clean meant something. And his point about Victor's reputation. Mommy? Leo's small voice came from the bedroom doorway. He stood there in his dinosaur pajamas, rubbing sleep from his eyes. Why was Daddy yelling? He wasn't yelling, baby. Just talking loud. Maya forced a smile and tucked the paper in her pocket. Come on, let's get you ready for school. But as she helped Leo brush his teeth and find his favorite shirt, her mind kept spinning. 3 days. She had 3 days to decide between protecting Leo and honoring the connection she'd made with Sophia, a kind, lonely old woman who'd lit up at Maya's visit. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number, but she recognized the pattern. My mother enjoyed your visit. She slept well for the first time in days. Thank you. Maya stared at the message, then at Leo's innocent face as he chattered about a science project. She couldn't drag her son into Victor's world. But signing Darren's paper felt like surrendering to a bully, letting fear dictate her choices. At drop-off, one of the other mothers, Jessica, whose son was in Leo's class, pulled Maya aside. Is it true? Jessica's voice was hushed, almost reverent. About Victor Leone? There's nothing to tell. My cousin works at Rosie's diner. She said Leone himself came in, made your boss confess to stealing. Said it was like something from a movie. Jessica's eyes were wide. Are you with him?
No.
Maya's voice came out sharper than intended. I helped his mother. That's all. But Jessica's expression said she didn't quite believe it. As Maya walked back to her car, she saw other parents watching, whispering. The damage was already done. Victor's intervention at the diner had marked her, whether she wanted it or not. And now Darren was going to use it to take Leo away. Maya sat in her Honda, hands gripping the steering wheel, and let herself cry for exactly 2 minutes. Then she dried her eyes, started the engine, and made a decision. She needed to talk to Victor. Not for help, she wouldn't ask for that. But to make him understand that his good intentions were destroying her life. Maya's phone rang before she could text Victor. The caller ID showed Riverside Senior Homes. Miss Torres? It's Patricia, the caregiver's voice was strained. I'm so sorry to bother you, but Sophia is having a difficult morning. She's asking for you specifically. She won't eat, won't take her medications. She just keeps saying she needs to see the angel. I know it's an imposition. I'll be there in 20 minutes. Maya didn't let herself think about Darren's ultimatum or the paper in her pocket. An old woman needed her, and that was enough. The traffic on I-95 was mercifully light. Maya made it to Riverside in 18 minutes, her heart hammering the entire drive. What if this was a mistake? What if someone saw her car in the parking lot, took a photo, sent it to Darren's lawyer? But when she reached room 237, all those concerns evaporated. Sophia sat rigid in her chair, eyes unfocused, hands clutching the armrests like she was falling. Patricia knelt beside her, speaking in soothing tones that weren't working. The breakfast tray sat untouched, and Sophia's pearls were twisted wrong, a detail that somehow made everything worse. Sophia? Maya crossed the room quickly. It's Maya. I'm here. The old woman's head snapped up. For a horrible moment, her eyes were blank, looking at Maya but not seeing her. Then recognition flooded in like sunlight. You came, Sophia's voice cracked. I thought. I couldn't remember if you were real. If that night was real. My mind plays tricks, you see. It shows me things that never happened, steals things that did. Maya took Sophia's hands, and the tension in them eased slightly. I'm real. That night was real. You're safe. Stay, Sophia whispered. Just for a little while. Please. Patricia caught Maya's eye, mouthed thank you, and quietly left the room. They sat together in the sunlight streaming through the window. Maya talked about nothing important. Leo's obsession with pterodactyls, the terrible traffic, a funny thing she'd seen on the bus. Slowly, Sophia's breathing steadied. Her hands relaxed. You have magic in you, Sophia said after a while. The kind that makes people feel safe. It's rare. I'm just a waitress. You're a mother. That's a different thing entirely. Sophia's eyes were sharp now, fully present. Tell me about Leo. Really tell me. So Maya did. She talked about Leo's laugh, his kindness to smaller kids at school, how he still slept with the stuffed elephant she'd given him when he was 2. She talked about the struggles too, affording field trips, worrying about his father, the constant juggling of bills and schedules. His father, Sophia said carefully. He's causing problems. Maya hesitated, then pulled out the crumpled paper from her pocket.
He wants me to sign this.
Promising I'll have no contact with you or Victor. If I don't, he's filing for custody. Sophia read the paper, her lips pressing into a thin line. This is coercion. It's protection. In his mind, anyway. He thinks Maya struggled with the words. He thinks I'm putting Leo at risk by knowing your son. And what do you think? I think I helped someone who needed help, and now it's turning into something complicated. Maya met Sophia's gaze. I don't regret helping you, but I can't lose my son. He's everything. Sophia set the paper down. Then sign it. Leo comes first. Always. The certainty in Sophia's voice was almost painful. But you've been asking for me. Because you make me feel human again. Because in a world where people walked past me like trash, you stopped. Sophia squeezed Maya's hand. But I'm an old woman at the end of her story. Leo is a child at the beginning of his. There's no comparison. Maya felt tears burning. It doesn't feel right. Most necessary things don't. Sophia leaned back, studying the ceiling. My husband used to say that doing the right thing often feels wrong because it costs something. Easy choices don't build character. Before Maya could respond, the door opened. Leo stood in the doorway. Maya's heart stopped.
Lao?
What? The school called. Patricia appeared behind him, apologetic. Early dismissal. Water main break. They couldn't reach you, so they tried your emergency contacts. Your neighbor brought him here. I'm so sorry. I should have called first. But Leo wasn't looking at Patricia. He was staring at Sophia with open curiosity. Are you the grandma my mom helped? He asked, walking straight into the room with the fearlessness of 7-year-olds everywhere. Sophia's face transformed. I am. And you must be Leo. Your mother has told me wonderful things about you. She helped you in the rain. Leo climbed into the chair beside Maya. Mom says we always help people who need help, even when it's hard. That's what heroes do. Your mother is very wise. She's the best. Leo said it with absolute certainty. Then, with the subject-changing speed of children, do you like dinosaurs? I'm learning about pterodactyls. They're not actually dinosaurs, they're pterosaurs. A lot of people get that wrong. Sophia laughed, a real, delighted sound. I didn't know that. Tell me more. Maya watched, frozen, as her son and this elegant old woman fell into easy conversation. Leo showed Sophia his dinosaur fact cards, always in his backpack. Sophia told him about the museum she used to visit with Victor when he was young. They talked about fossils and favorite foods and whether dogs or cats made better pets. It was so natural, so simple. 20 minutes passed like seconds. Then the door opened again, and Victor stood there. He took in the scene, his mother laughing, Leo chattering away, Maya caught between wonder and terror, and something in his expression cracked open. You brought your son, he said quietly. I didn't. School called. I didn't know. Maya stood, instinctively protective. But Victor wasn't looking at her. He was looking at his mother, who was smiling wider than Patricia had probably seen in months. Mr. Leone, Patricia whispered from the doorway. She's been like this since Leo arrived. Engaged, present, happy. Victor stepped into the room slowly, like approaching something fragile.
Ma?
You feeling okay? I'm wonderful. Sophia reached for his hand. Come meet Leo. He's teaching me about pterodactyls. Pterosaurs, Leo corrected cheerfully. Common mistake. Victor's lips twitched. He shook Leo's hand with mock solemnity. Nice to meet you, Leo. Thank you for educating my mother. No problem. She's really nice. Leo looked at Maya. Mom, can we visit again? I want to tell her about the T-Rex skeleton at the Franklin Institute. Maya saw Victor watching her, saw the question in his eyes. She thought about the paper in her pocket, about Darren's ultimatum, about the impossible choice she was facing. We'll see, baby, she said softly. But she already knew this was going to be harder than she'd thought. Maya didn't notice the silver sedan at first. It was parked across from her building when she and Leo got home, just another car in a neighborhood full of them. She was too busy helping Leo with his backpack and listening to him chatter about Sophia's stories. She said Mr. Victor used to collect rocks when he was my age. Real rocks from all over. Can I start a rock collection, Mom? Maybe for your birthday, sweetheart. Maya unlocked their apartment door, the third-floor walk-up suddenly feeling steeper than usual. Go wash your hands. Dinner in 20 minutes. It wasn't until she glanced out the kitchen window while boiling pasta that she saw it again, the same silver sedan, now idling near the corner bodega. 2 men sat in the front seat, just waiting. Probably nothing. Probably someone visiting a neighbor. But Maya's instincts, honed by years of late-night diner shifts in rough neighborhoods, prickled with warning. She checked on Leo, safely absorbed in a dinosaur documentary, then pulled out her phone. Victor's last text was still there, unanswered. Her thumb hovered over the keyboard. Don't be paranoid. Don't drag him into this. She put the phone down and made spaghetti. The sedan was still there at 9 p.m. when Maya tucked Leo into bed. And at 10 p.m. when she did the dishes. At 11 p.m., she stood at the window in the dark and watched as one of the men got out, lit a cigarette, and made a phone call while staring directly at her building. Maya's hands shook as she picked up her phone. There's a car outside my apartment. 2 men. Been here for hours. She sent the text before she could second-guess it. Victor's response came in under a minute. Silver sedan? License plate FJK 2847. Her blood turned cold. How did you know? I have someone watching your building. For your protection. The sedan showed up an hour after my guy did. Stay inside. Lock your doors. I'm sending more security. Victor, what's happening? The typing indicator appeared, disappeared, appeared again. People saw me at your apartment building yesterday. My enemies assume you're important to me. They're watching to see if you are. Maya read the message 3 times, each time feeling sicker. Make them leave. Please. I have a son. They will. 20 minutes. Do not go outside for any reason. Maya triple-checked the locks, then stood in Leo's doorway watching him sleep, her heart hammering so hard she could hear it. This was insane. This was exactly what Darren had warned about. She'd helped an old woman, and now dangerous people were watching her home. Her phone buzzed. A call this time, Victor's number. They're gone, he said without preamble. My people made it clear you're under protection. They won't come back. Under protection? Maya's voice came out sharper than intended. I didn't ask for protection. I didn't ask for any of this. I know Victor's voice was strained.
Maya, I'm sorry.
I didn't think. I should have realized that being seen with me would paint a target on you. I was careless. Your enemies think I'm important to you. A pause. In my world, any connection can be perceived as leverage. It doesn't matter if it's real or not. Maya sank onto her couch, suddenly exhausted. My ex-husband is filing for custody. He says I'm putting Leo at risk by knowing you. And now there are actually dangerous people watching my home, so he's right. The silence on the other end was heavy. I'll fix this, Victor finally said. I'll make it clear you're off limits. That there's no connection beyond basic gratitude. No one will bother you again. And your mother? Another pause. What about her? Leo made her happy today. Really happy. Your caregiver said she hasn't been that engaged in months, Maya's voice cracked. But if I keep visiting, this gets worse, doesn't it? More people watching, more risk. Yes, the word was brutal in its honesty. So I have to choose. Your mother's happiness or my son's safety. There's no choice, Maya. Leo comes first. Always Victor's voice carried an edge of something painful. My mother would say the same thing. She already did, didn't she? Maya wiped her eyes. This isn't fair.
No.
It's not, he exhaled slowly. For what it's worth, you gave my mother something I couldn't, a reminder that the world has goodness in it. That's not nothing. It doesn't feel like enough. It never does, Victor's voice softened. I'm going to have 2 of my security people watch your building. Professional bodyguards, licensed and legal. They'll be invisible, but they'll be there. Until I'm certain there's no more interest in you. I can't afford. You're not paying. This is my responsibility. My mess to clean up, he paused. And Maya? Sign your ex-husband's paper. Don't let him use my mistakes against you. After they hung up, Maya sat in the dark for a long time. Through the window, she could see a black SUV parked where the silver sedan had been. Not hiding, not pretending. Making a statement. This building is protected. It should have made her feel safer. Instead, it made her feel trapped. The next morning, Darren's paper sat on her kitchen counter. Maya stared at it while drinking coffee, the words blurring together. I, Maya Torres, agree to cease all contact with Victor Leon, Sophia Leon, and any associates of the Leon family. Her phone buzzed. A text from Patricia. Sophia had a setback last night. Asking for you again. The doctor says familiar, comforting presences help stabilize dementia patients. I understand if you can't come, but I wanted you to know she needs you. Maya set down her coffee cup,
Picked up a pen.
stared at Darren's paper, put the pen down. She couldn't sign it.
Not yet.
Not while Sophia was struggling. Maybe that made her a bad mother. Maybe it made her reckless. But it was the only choice she could live with. She grabbed her keys and headed for the door, praying she wasn't making a catastrophic mistake. The black SUV followed her all the way to Riverside Senior Homes. Victor's legitimate real estate office occupied the 5th floor of a modern building in Center City. Maya had never been here, had actively avoided it, but this morning she'd called and demanded a meeting. On neutral ground. Somewhere public and professional. If she was going to set boundaries, she needed to do it face to face. The receptionist, a polished woman in her 30s, led Maya to a glass-walled conference room overlooking the city. Everything was chrome and clean lines, more corporate than Maya had expected. Framed development projects lined the walls, affordable housing complexes, a community center, a renovated historic district. Victor entered 3 minutes later, closing the door behind him. He wore a navy suit, no tie, and looked tired. "Thank you for coming," he said. "I didn't sign the paper." Maya stayed standing, keeping the table between them. "My ex gave me until Friday, and I didn't sign it. Because your mother needed me, and I couldn't walk away from someone who's suffering. But that ends today." Victor's expression didn't change. "I'm listening." "I need to be very clear about something." Maya's voice was steady despite the fear coursing through her. "Leo is 7 years old. He's kind and smart and innocent, and he deserves a childhood that doesn't include bodyguards and dangerous men watching our home. I won't let your world touch him. I can't. I understand. Do you?" The words came out harder than intended. "Because yesterday there were men, your enemies, watching my building, deciding if my son and I were worth threatening. And yes, you sent protection, but that protection is also a reminder. A sign that says this woman matters to Victor Leone. It makes us a permanent target." Victor's jaw tightened, but he nodded. "You're right. I want to help your mother. She's lonely and scared, and I genuinely care about her. But not if it means putting Leo at risk." Maya finally sat, suddenly exhausted. "So, I need you to tell me the truth. Can I visit Sophia without dragging my son into your world? Or is that impossible?" Victor was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice carried a weight Maya hadn't heard before, something raw and honest. "My father built an empire on fear. When he died, I inherited enemies I never made, debts I never owed, and a reputation that follows me everywhere." He moved to the window, hands in his pockets. "I've spent 10 years trying to transition everything legitimate. Real estate, restaurants, logistics, all clean. But the old alliances, the old grudges, they don't disappear because I want them to. So the answer is no." "The answer is, it's complicated." Victor turned to face her. "What happened yesterday, the surveillance, the intimidation, that was a test. Dmitry Volkov's people testing whether you were actually important to me or just a random act of kindness. My response made it clear you're under protection, but you're not involved. Not in the business, not in my personal life. And they'll believe that. They will if I make the right moves. Distance myself publicly. Make it clear there's nothing between us except gratitude for helping my mother." He met her eyes. "But that means I can't be seen with you. I can't visit when you're at Riverside. Can't intervene if something goes wrong. It means you're on your own." Maya absorbed this. "And the bodyguards? I'll pull them back. Put someone on the neighborhood generally, not your building specifically. Less obvious, but still there if an emergency happens." Victor's expression was grim. "I'll spread word through the right channels that you're completely off limits, that threatening you would be the same as threatening my mother directly. In my world, that's a line no one crosses." "Will that work?" "It should. But there are no guarantees, Maya." "There never are." He returned to the table, standing across from her. "If you want complete safety, you sign your ex-husband's paper and walk away. Never visit my mother again. Never speak to me. Erase this entire chapter from your life. That's the safest choice." And Sophia? Something flickered in Victor's expression. Pain, quickly masked. My mother is dying. Not today, not tomorrow, but dementia is stealing her piece by piece. The doctors say she has maybe 2 years before she won't recognize anyone. His voice roughened. You've given her moments of clarity and happiness in what's probably the last good year she has.
I'll always be grateful for that.
But I won't ask you to sacrifice your son's safety for her comfort. Maya thought about Sophia's smile when Leo talked about dinosaurs, about the way the old woman's hands had steadied in hers, about Leo asking if they could visit again. I want to keep visiting, she said finally, but with conditions.
Victor nodded.
Name them. You stay away when I'm there. No visits, no phone calls, no contact. Sophia is my friend, not a connection to you. Done. The bodyguards have to be invisible. No black SUVs outside my building, no obvious security. If Leo notices something's wrong, I'm out. They'll be professionals. Completely discreet. And if your enemies come back, if there's even a hint that knowing your family is putting Leo at risk, I disappear.
No explanations, no goodbyes.
I ghost completely. Victor extended his hand across the table. Agreed. Maya shook it, his grip firm and warm. One more thing. The job offer you made, I'm not taking it. Ever. I don't want your money or your help. I'll find my own way forward. The offer wasn't charity. I know. But accepting it blurs the line between friend and obligation. I need that line to stay clear. Victor studied her for a long moment, then nodded. You're stronger than most people I know. I'm a single mother. We don't have the luxury of being weak, Maya stood. I should go. I'm visiting Sophia this afternoon. Maya, Victor's voice stopped her at the door. Thank you for not giving up on her. I'm not doing this for you, Maya said quietly. I'm doing it because she's a good person who deserves kindness. And because showing Leo that we help people, even when it's complicated, matters more than taking the easy path. She left before he could respond. In the elevator, Maya pulled out her phone and looked at Darren's paper, photographed and saved. She'd meet with him tomorrow, explain the boundaries she'd set, maybe find a compromise. But she wouldn't sign it. Not yet. Outside, the city hummed with afternoon traffic. Maya walked 3 blocks before noticing the man in the gray jacket keeping pace behind her, far enough back to seem coincidental, close enough to help if needed. Victor's invisible protection. Maya took a deep breath and kept walking. She'd set her boundaries. Now she had to pray they'd be enough. The email from Darren's lawyer arrived on Thursday morning at 6:47 a.m., while Maya was packing Leo's lunch. Emergency custody hearing. Torres versus Torres.
Her hands froze on the bread bag.
Emergency hearing. The words swam before her eyes as she scrolled through legal jargon that essentially said Darren had filed for temporary emergency custody, citing immediate risk to the minor child due to mother's association with known criminal elements. The hearing was scheduled for next Tuesday, 5 days away. Mom. Leo appeared in the kitchen doorway, already dressed for school. You okay? Maya forced a smile, shoving her phone in her pocket. I'm fine, baby. Just work stuff. But her hands shook as she finished his sandwich. By noon, Maya had called 3 lawyers. 2 said they couldn't take the case. One had actually laughed nervously and said he didn't want trouble with Victor Leone, as if Maya were the mob boss's girlfriend instead of someone who'd helped an old woman. The third quoted $15,000 as a retainer. Maya had $800 in her bank account. She was sitting in her car outside Leo's school, fighting back tears, when her phone rang. Unknown number. Ms. Torres? This is Catherine Brennan from Brennan and Associates. I understand you need representation for a custody matter. Maya's throat tightened. I can't afford. I'm not calling about payment. I'm calling because I handle pro bono cases for parents in difficult situations. I'd like to help you if you'll let me.
Pro bono?
Why would you? Realization hit like cold water. Victor sent you. A pause. Mr. Leone made me aware of your situation. But I'm off for my services because I reviewed your case file, and I believe you're being railroaded by an ex-spouse using fear tactics. My firm has a policy about defending good parents from bad faith custody challenges. I can't take Victor's help. You're not. I choose my pro bono cases, Miss Torres. Mr. Leone simply made an introduction. Catherine's voice was professional, firm. We can meet today if you're available. Bring any documentation you have regarding your ex-husband's history, texts, emails, anything that establishes his behavior patterns. Maya wanted to refuse. She'd told Victor she didn't want his money or his help. But this was Leo, and pride didn't matter when her son's future was at stake. I can meet at 2 o'clock, Maya said quietly. Perfect. I'll text you the address. Catherine Brennan's office was in a modest building near City Hall. Nothing flashy, but professional. Catherine herself was in her 50s, with steel-gray hair and sharp eyes that seemed to see everything. She listened without interrupting as Maya explained the whole story, helping Sophia, Victor's intervention at the diner, Darren's ultimatum, the surveillance outside her apartment. Maya showed her the unsigned paper, the threatening texts from Darren, the email about the emergency hearing. Your ex-husband is grasping at straws, Catherine said finally. But in family court, perception matters as much as facts. We need to establish several things. First, that your connection to the Leone family is purely humanitarian. Second, that no danger has actually touched your son. Third, that your ex has ulterior motives for this custody challenge. He does. Maya pulled out her phone, scrolling through old messages. He's been inconsistent with child support, missed visitations, and until 2 months ago, he was telling friends he didn't want the responsibility of full-time parenting. Then he heard about Victor, and suddenly he's father of the year. Catherine's eyes gleamed. Can you prove the timeline? I have texts, screenshots from his social media. His mother even called me once, apologizing for how absent he'd been. Perfect, Catherine made notes. Now, the harder question. Mr. Leone offered you a job, which you refused. But he's provided security for your building, correct? Maya hesitated. Not obviously. Just awareness. That's smart. We need to frame this correctly. Catherine leaned forward. Here's what I'm going to do. I'll file a response arguing that you provided emergency assistance to an elderly woman with dementia, a clear act of humanity. That the woman's son expressed gratitude, as any son would. That you've maintained appropriate boundaries, and that no criminal activity or danger has touched your child. We'll also file a counter-motion questioning your ex's sudden interest in custody after years of minimal involvement. Will it work? It should. Pennsylvania courts favor stability for the child, and you've been the primary caregiver for 4 years. Your ex's claim of immediate danger is unsupported by evidence. Catherine paused. But I need to ask, is there any truth to his claims? Any possibility that knowing the Leone family puts Leo at risk? Maya thought about the silver sedan, about Victor's promise that his enemies would back off. There was one incident, she admitted. People watching my building. But Victor handled it. Made it clear I wasn't involved in his business. And since then, nothing. It's been quiet. Catherine nodded slowly. We'll address it head-on if it comes up. Show that you immediately recognized potential danger and set firm boundaries. That demonstrates good judgment, not recklessness. She closed her folder. Miss Torres, I won't lie to you. This case has complications. But I've seen worse, and I've won. Trust me to do my job. I do. Maya felt something, a knot in her chest. Thank you. As she left the office, her phone buzzed. A text from Victor. The lawyer I recommended is excellent. But to be clear, she's working for you, not for me. Whatever she advises, follow it. Even if it means cutting all contact with my family. Maya stared at the message, then typed back, Why are you helping me? His response came quickly. Because you showed my mother kindness when no one else would. Because you're fighting to protect your son the same way she fought to protect me. Because it's the right thing to do. She pocketed her phone without responding. That night, Leo asked why she seemed worried. Just grown-up stuff, baby, Maya said, tucking him in. Is it about Dad? Leo's voice was small. He called Grandma. She told me he wants me to live with him more. Maya's heart clenched. Would you want that? Leo was quiet for a moment. I love Dad, but I love you more. You're the one who's always here. Maya kissed his forehead, fighting tears. I'm always going to be here, Leo. I promise. As she closed his door, her phone lit up with an email from Catherine. Darren's lawyer just filed additional motions. They're pushing hard. Prepare yourself. Tuesday's hearing is going to be tough. But we're ready. Maya sat on her couch in the dark, alone with her fear. She'd set boundaries with Victor. She'd hired a lawyer. She'd done everything right. But what if it wasn't enough? What if helping one old woman in the rain cost her everything? The call came at 8:47 p.m. on Saturday, 2 days before the custody hearing. Maya was reviewing notes with Catherine, preparing for Tuesday's testimony, when her phone lit up with a number she didn't recognize. Ms. Torres? This is Fire Chief Ramirez with the Philadelphia Fire Department. There's been an incident at 1247 Hartley Street. You're listed as an emergency contact for Sophia Leone? Maya's blood turned to ice. What happened? Is she okay? There's a fire at the old commercial block near her care facility. Several buildings involved. Mrs. Leone wandered away from Riverside during the confusion. We think the sirens agitated her. We found her disoriented near the smoke zone. She's asking for you. I'm coming. Where is she? Medical staging area. Corner of Hartley and 9th. Ms. Torres, the area isn't fully secure. Maya was already grabbing her keys. I'll be there in 10 minutes. Catherine stood. I'm coming with you. You'll need a witness that this is legitimate emergency assistance, not social involvement. They took Catherine's car, weaving through traffic toward the smoke visible even from 2 miles away. Maya's phone buzzed constantly. Texts from Patricia, from Riverside's night manager, from a number she didn't recognize but suspected was Victor's security team. She ignored all of them. The scene was chaos. Fire trucks blocked Hartley Street, their lights painting everything red and blue. The old diner building, Rosie's, where Maya used to work, was engulfed in flames. Fire had spread to the neighboring structures, including a vintage clothing store and what looked like an abandoned warehouse. How did this start? Catherine asked a police officer directing traffic. Under investigation. Started in the diner's basement around 7 p.m. Looks like someone was burning documents, got careless. Maya's stomach twisted. Derek. It had to be Derek, destroying evidence of his theft. Where's the medical staging? Maya pressed. The officer pointed. 2 blocks east. But ma'am, you can't. Maya was already running. She found Sophia sitting on the bumper of an ambulance, wrapped in a blanket, her silver hair wild around her face. Patricia knelt beside her, trying to calm her, but Sophia's eyes were unfocused and terrified. Where is she? Where's my angel? Sophia's voice cracked. She'll come. She always comes when I need her. Sophia. Maya pushed through the emergency personnel. I'm here. I'm right here. Sophia's head snapped up. Relief flooded her features so intensely it was almost painful to witness. You came. I knew you would. I got confused, the sirens, the smoke. I thought I was supposed to meet you, but I couldn't remember where. Maya wrapped her arms around the old woman, feeling her trembling. You're safe now. I've got you. There was a man, Sophia whispered, at the diner. He was angry, burning things. I saw him through the window before the smoke got bad. He didn't see me. Derek. Maya filed that information away. An EMT approached. Ma'am, we need to check her vitals. I'm not leaving her, Maya said firmly. I'm her lawyer, Catherine added, flashing credentials. We stay together. The EMT sighed but nodded, checking Sophia's oxygen levels while Maya held her hand. Blood pressure's elevated, but stable. Smoke inhalation is minimal. She wasn't close enough to the fire. He looked at Patricia. She can go back to Riverside, but someone should stay with her tonight. I will, Maya said immediately. Patricia's relief was visible. Thank you. We're short-staffed tonight. Half our people are helping with the evacuation. A commotion erupted near the fire line. Maya looked up to see Victor pushing past police barricades, his suit jacket gone, his face streaked with soot. Two of his men flanked him, both looking grim. He locked eyes with Maya across the chaos. Then he looked at his mother, safe in Maya's arms, and something in his expression cracked. He started toward them, but Catherine stepped into his path. Mr. Leone, I'm Catherine Brennan, Ms. Torres's attorney. I need you to keep your distance. Victor stopped short. Is my mother safe? Thanks to Ms. Torres, who responded immediately to an emergency call, Catherine's voice was crisp, professional. Any interaction between you and my client right now could be misconstrued in court proceedings. I'm sure you understand. Victor's jaw clenched, but he nodded. He looked at Maya. Thank you. Then he turned to his security team. Get Derek Crawford.
Now.
I want him in police custody within the hour. Already done, boss. Cops picked him up 20 minutes ago. Found him 3 blocks away with evidence of accelerants on his clothes. A fire investigator approached Victor. Mr. Leone? We found the remains of financial documents in the basement. Looks like someone was destroying records. The owner, Victor said coldly. Derek Crawford. He was embezzling from the business, knew I was investigating, tried to destroy the evidence, and nearly killed people in the process. The investigator made notes. We'll need your full statement. Maya watched this unfold while holding Sophia, who had finally stopped shaking. The old woman's breathing had steadied, but she refused to let go of Maya's hand. I want to go home, Sophia murmured. But not without you. I'll stay with you tonight, Maya promised. As long as you need. Catherine drove them back to Riverside in silence. In the rear-view mirror, Maya could see the smoke still rising from Hartley Street, black against the night sky. Derek's desperate attempt to cover his crimes had nearly caused deaths, had traumatized Sophia, had created exactly the kind of chaos that Darren's lawyer would use against Maya on Tuesday. As if reading her thoughts, Catherine spoke. This helps us.
How?
You responded to a legitimate emergency. Provided comfort to an elderly dementia patient in crisis. Any reasonable person would have done the same. Catherine's eyes met Maya's in the mirror. It demonstrates compassion and good judgment, not reckless involvement with criminals. We'll document everything. At Riverside, Maya settled Sophia into bed. The old woman's fingers clutched at Maya's sleeve. Don't leave, Sophia whispered. The nightmares come when I'm alone. I'm not leaving. Maya pulled a chair beside the bed. I'll be right here. Sophia's eyes drifted closed, but her hand stayed locked around Maya's. Catherine stood in the doorway. I'll be in the visitors' lounge.
Get some rest if you can.
Tuesday's coming fast. After she left, Maya sat in the dark, listening to Sophia's breathing even out into sleep. Her phone buzzed. Victor, thank you for saving her. Again. Maya didn't respond. She just held an old woman's hand and prayed she wasn't about to lose everything that mattered. The custody hearing on Tuesday morning felt like walking into an execution. Maya sat beside Catherine at the plaintiff's table, her hands folded to hide their shaking. Across the aisle, Darren wore a new suit and an expression of righteous concern. His lawyer, a severe woman named Janet Kowalski, had a stack of papers that seemed designed to intimidate. Judge Patricia Mendoza entered, a no-nonsense woman in her 60s with sharp eyes that missed nothing. This is an emergency custody hearing in the matter of Torres versus Torres. Ms. Kowalski, you filed the emergency motion. Proceed. What followed was brutal. Janet Kowalski painted Maya as reckless, presenting blown-up photos of Victor's SUVs outside the diner, screenshots of news articles about Leone family connections to organized crime, testimony from neighbors who'd seen suspicious vehicles near Maya's building. Your Honor, Ms. Torres has entangled herself with one of Philadelphia's most notorious criminal families, Kowalski argued. She visits the matriarch regularly, has accepted financial assistance, and exposed the minor child to this environment. Mr. Torres seeks custody to protect his son from clear and present danger. Maya felt sick. Every true thing twisted into something ugly. Then it was Catherine's turn. Your Honor, let's discuss what actually happened. Catherine stood, commanding the room. On the night of October 23rd, my client, after working a double shift, found an elderly woman with dementia collapsed in the rain. Not one of the 4 people who passed by stopped to help. Ms. Torres did. She stayed with this woman for 47 minutes in freezing conditions, ensuring she returned safely to her care facility. Catherine pulled out her own evidence. The security footage showing Maya helping Sophia, medical reports confirming Sophia's dementia diagnosis, statements from Patricia and other Riverside staff about Sophia's attachment to Maya. The woman's son expressed gratitude, as any son would. He intervened when my client was wrongfully terminated from her job, intervention that resulted in the actual thief being arrested. Catherine's voice hardened. Ms. Torres then set firm boundaries. She declined a job offer. She refused financial assistance. She visits Sophia Leone as a friend during public visiting hours because an isolated elderly woman suffering from dementia finds comfort in her presence. The vehicles outside her home, Kowalski started, were present for 3 days following a single incident where rival criminals mistakenly believed Ms. Torres had significance to Victor Leone's business operations. Catherine interrupted. Mr. Leone clarified this misunderstanding to all relevant parties. There have been no security concerns for 3 weeks. The supposed danger Mr. Torres claims is entirely theoretical. Judge Mendoza leaned forward. Ms. Torres, I'd like to hear from you directly. Why continue visiting Mrs. Leone when you knew it could complicate your custody situation? Maya stood, her voice steady despite her fear. Because she's a person, Your Honor. Not a political problem or a court strategy, a lonely, frightened woman who's losing her memories and needed someone to care. My son Leo met her once, and she lit up. She told him stories, laughed at his dinosaur facts, treated him with kindness. Maya's throat tightened. I'm teaching Leo that we help people even when it's inconvenient. Even when it's complicated. Because that's what decent humans do. Even if it risks your custody. I set boundaries to protect Leo. I haven't exposed him to anything dangerous. But I won't abandon someone who needs me just because it's politically safer. Maya met the judge's eyes. That's not the mother I want to be. Silence filled the courtroom. Judge Mendoza turned to Darren. Mr. Torres, you've had minimal involvement in your son's life for 4 years. Inconsistent child support, missed visitations. Why the sudden concern now? Darren straightened. I'm 8 months sober, Your Honor. I have a steady job, a good apartment. I'm ready to be a real father. But not if my son's being exposed to. To what? The judge's voice was sharp. To his mother showing compassion? Teaching him empathy? From what I see here, the only documented danger occurred 3 weeks ago and was immediately addressed. She looked at the case files. Ms. Kowalski, your emergency motion claims, immediate risk. I see no evidence of immediate risk. I see a mother making difficult ethical choices while maintaining her child's safety.
Kowalski stood.
Your Honor, Victor Leone's reputation is not on trial here. Ms. Torres's parenting is. Judge Mendoza made notes. I'm denying the emergency custody motion. Ms. Torres will retain primary custody. Mr. Torres, you'll continue with your current visitation schedule. If you want to modify custody arrangements, file through standard channels with actual evidence of harm, not theoretical concerns. The gavel came down. Maya's knees nearly buckled. Catherine gripped her arm, steadying her. You won. Across the aisle, Darren's face was red with fury. He pushed past his lawyer and out of the courtroom without a word. Outside, Maya sat on a bench, gulping air. She'd won. Leo was still hers. Her phone buzzed. Patricia, Sophia's asking for you. Are you free today? Maya stared at the text. After everything, the fear, the hearing, the risk, Sophia was still asking for her. Before she could respond, another text came through. Victor, I heard about the ruling.
I'm grateful.
And I'm sorry for everything this cost you. Then a third message, can we talk? Not about my mother. About something else. Something I should have told you weeks ago. Maya looked at Catherine, who was packing up her briefcase. Go, Catherine said quietly. You set boundaries, you won your case, and you stayed true to yourself. Whatever comes next, you've earned the right to choose it freely. Maya typed back to Victor. Where and when? His response, the hospital courtyard at Riverside. 1 hour. I promise. This is the last time I'll ask anything of you. Maya stood, smoothed her dress, and headed for her car. Whatever Victor wanted to say, she'd listen. But she'd do it on her own terms, with her eyes wide open. The woman who'd helped Sophia in the rain wasn't the same woman walking into this meeting. She'd been tested, threatened, and forced to fight.
And she'd survived.
1 month later, the ribbon cutting for Sophia's house drew a bigger crowd than Maya had expected. The converted brownstone on Callowhill Street gleamed with fresh paint, soft yellow with white trim, and the sign above the door read, Sophia's House, Community Support Center. Maya stood on the front steps, holding the oversized scissors, feeling surreal. A month ago, she'd been fighting for custody. Now she was the coordinator of a fully funded community center that offered free ESL classes, after-school programs, support groups for caregivers of dementia patients, and a daily meal service. All of it legitimate. All of it clean. Ready. Catherine stood beside her, now a friend more than a lawyer. I think so. Maya looked at the gathered crowd, neighbors, local politicians, reporters. And there, in the back, standing apart but present, Victor. He'd kept his promise from that conversation in the hospital courtyard a month ago. The one where he'd told her the truth, that watching her risk everything for his mother had forced him to confront what he'd become. That he was tired of the violence, the fear, the legacy his father had left him. I'm dismantling it, he'd said that day, his voice raw. The illegal operations, the old alliances. It'll take time. You can't just walk away from an empire, but I'm doing it piece by piece. My mother deserves better than watching her son become a monster. And you showed me that better is possible. Maya had been skeptical. People don't just change.
No.
They don't. But they can try. He looked at her with painful honesty. I'm offering you a real job, Maya. Not out of obligation or guilt. Because Sophia's house needs someone who genuinely cares about helping people. Someone who understands what it means to struggle. You. She'd almost said no again. But then she'd thought about Leo, about the future she wanted to build for him. About showing him that sometimes the hardest paths led somewhere worth going. I'll do it, she'd said. But I'm watching you, Victor. If this center becomes a front for anything illegal, it won't. I promise you that. Now, standing on these steps, Maya believed him. She'd seen the paperwork, vetted every funding source, insisted on complete transparency. Victor had put Sophia's house in the hands of an independent nonprofit board. He was a donor, nothing more. Maya cut the ribbon and the crowd applauded. Inside, the center buzzed with activity. The main room had been converted into a bright community space with tables, bookshelves, and a kitchen that smelled like fresh coffee and homemade cookies. Local artists had painted a mural on one wall, a Philadelphia street scene full of diverse faces and warm colors. Leo raced through with 3 other kids, all of them heading for the new library corner. The after-school program had started yesterday, and he'd already made friends.
Mom.
Mrs. Sophia's here, Leo called out. Maya turned to see Patricia wheeling Sophia through the front door. The old woman looked radiant in a lavender dress, pearls at her throat, her silver hair styled beautifully. These days were precious. Sophia had more bad days than good ones now, but today was golden. My house, Sophia said, looking around with clear eyes. You named it after me. You inspired it. Maya knelt beside the wheelchair. Every person who gets help here, it's because you reminded us all that kindness matters. Sophia's papery hand touched Maya's cheek. You're still an angel. My angel. Victor appeared in the doorway, holding a box of donated books. He'd been here every day for the past week, helping set up, painting walls, moving furniture. Maya had watched him transform, slowly and perfectly, into someone who used his hands to build instead of intimidate. He set the box down and approached his mother. "How are you feeling, Ma?" "Wonderful." Proud, Sophia looked between Victor and Maya. "Proud of both of you." Leo ran up, waving a book about prehistoric marine life. "Mr. Victor, look what I found. It has a megalodon." Victor crouched down, studying the book with genuine interest. "That's incredible. Did you know megalodons could grow up to 60 feet long? That's bigger than a school bus." Leo's eyes were huge. Maya watched them, her son, this old woman, and the man who'd been both her biggest complication and her unlikely ally. It wasn't a traditional family, but it was something real. Catherine approached, holding a glass of lemonade. "You did good, Maya." "We did good," Maya corrected. "None of this happens without you fighting for me in that courtroom. None of it happens without you being brave enough to stop in the rain that night." Catherine smiled. "The center's going to change lives. I can feel it." Through the window, Maya saw Darren's car pull up. Her chest tightened. Today was his visitation day. But when Leo saw his father, he ran to him happily. Darren had been better lately. More consistent. Maybe the custody battle had shaken something loose in him too. "Ready, bud?" Darren asked, then nodded awkwardly at Maya. "I'll have him back by 7. "Sounds good." "Be good, Leo." "Always am." Leo hugged her tight, then ran to hug Sophia too. "Bye, Mrs. Sophia. I'll read you the Megalodon chapter next time." "I can't wait, dear boy." After they left, the center settled into a comfortable rhythm. People filtered in for the dinner service. Families from the neighborhood who needed a meal, seniors who needed company, volunteers who needed purpose. Victor found Maya in the kitchen, helping plate food. "Thank you," he said quietly, "for giving me a chance to be better." "You're doing the work," Maya replied. "I'm just running the center." "You're doing more than that. You're showing people, showing me, what redemption looks like." Maya looked through the doorway at Sophia, who sat surrounded by new friends, laughing at someone's story. At the families eating together. At the volunteers who'd come because they'd heard about a place where everyone was welcome. "It's not redemption," Maya said softly. "It's just choosing kindness. Over and over. Even when it's hard." Victor nodded, and together they returned to serving dinner. Outside, twilight painted the Philadelphia sky in shades of gold and purple. The sign for Sophia's house glowed warmly in the fading light, a beacon of hope on a street that had known too much darkness. Maya had helped an old woman in the rain, and that single act had transformed everything. Not immediately, not easily, but truly. She'd lost nothing that mattered, and gained a family forged not in blood, but in the choice to be kind when the world said it was safer to look away. Sophia's house would stand as proof that compassion could change lives, that people could become better, and that sometimes the smallest acts of humanity could build something beautiful enough to last.
The end.